Hey, this is Shaheedah Hill, helping you confidently buy your first home. I'm so excited to bring you Keisha Gaskin from Homestar Financial, the Xander team, and she's going to tell us all about the underwriting process today. So, after you are pre-approved for your mortgage and then you find a house and you're under contract, then your loan goes to underwriting for them to really approve your financing. So she's going to tell us all about that process, how it works. I have about 7 questions I'm going to ask her, but I'm going to allow her to introduce herself to us right now.
Hi, you guys. My name is Keisha Gaskin. I am a loan officer assistant with the Xander team out here in Homestar in Douglasville. And I will answer, hopefully, all of your underwriting questions today, as well as giving you a little bit more insight on some other things. A little bit about myself. I've been on both sides of the fence. I come with sitting on site on new construction. I come with being a former realtor, and now I'm on the lending side. So hopefully I can really give you a full ram of what you can expect.
Okay, very good. And it's good that she's been on both sides, so she kind of can anticipate on the lending side, on the sales side. So she's a great resource. So the first question, just do a basic, explanation of what is underwriting. Like, what is it?
Underwriting basically is a process that we kind of refer to of someone reviewing the loan, a third party, so to speak, reviewing the loan guidelines and your documents to make sure that you meet all guidelines before you receive the final approval for your loan.
Okay. So what's the difference between automated underwriting and desktop underwriting? And sometimes you hear those terms, automated underwriting or desktop underwriting. What's the difference?
So really, your automated underwriting and desktop is pretty much similar. It's just a different automated system, but typically we can input your information in the computer and run it. Allocated for a particular loan program. The computer knows the guidelines, and per your basic information, that would be your simple credit report and your liabilities, your debt to income ratio, because of course we have your income, and a review of your credit report. It takes that information in the computer. It compares it and hits the guidelines that it knows for that loan program, and then it tells us, yes, you are pre-approved and what we need to get from you to make sure that you adhere to the pre-approval.
Okay, good. So you're saying desktop is pretty much the same thing. Desktop and they're both computer generated.
Desktop is exactly. They're both computer generated. It's just a matter of just they're different types of computer programs. And that would kind of make it through desktop underwriting, automated systems, that would kind of make it the difference.
Okay, thank you.
All in all, they're all computer generated.
Okay, good. The next question is, okay, so when I think of underwriting, like I think, okay, they've already done the computer stuff, then the file is going to an actual human being to look at. That's the way I think of it, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. So how many underwriters do you have like on a team? Like how many people are underwriters? And I was gonna say, do all lenders, so like on your team, are y'all all using this, everybody in Homestar Financial use a whole group of underwriters, or do you have one underwriter assigned to you? Like explain like who is the underwriter?
The underwriter really is supposed to be this kind of mystery person, so to speak, someone you don't know and who does not know of you. But it is it's a team of people. So you do have a basic underwriter, someone who may be kind of new, but just knows exactly what they need to get. And then maybe when they believe that they have it, but it's not quite black and white, it's a little bit kind of grayish, then you have someone who can be over them, who's been a little bit more experienced and kind of knows a little bit more detail of the investor that the loan is for, and pretty much the situation, the documents. They have a little bit more experience. So then you have someone over them, and you have maybe about 3 tiers when it comes to an underwriting team.
Okay, so it's a whole team. So when I'm under contract and you say I'm in underwriting, my file has been submitted to a team of people to look at.
Exactly. It's submitted to a person from a team. So usually we're not sure who may receive the file for underwriting. And that's pretty much the whole purpose of having the underwriter, is that you have, again, that third party who does not know of anything, any outside sources. They don't know how you bent over backwards to get those bank statements. They don't know, how before you were able to make the deposit for your earnest funds, you had a car accident. They don't know any of that we kind of have that heart for, and they don't know any of your story. They're just looking at paperwork, and they're going by black and white, what's written on this guideline here and what you have presented to them. That's it. So we typically don't know who it is until we get notification of what you need, after they've reviewed the file.
Right. So they look at the file and they're saying, after they've looked at everything, they'll come back with conditions typically, right? They're like, okay, well, we need this and this. This is not that clear, but we'll get into that too. All right. So this is question number 3. What is the underwriter looking for that you might not have asked for as a lender? What is something that they may ask for, but that the lender did not ask for?
They may want, we may have a copy of your tax returns. They may very well want particular transcripts. They may want a signed copy from the IRS. They may want to see not just your W-2, but they may want to also see your business or your personal tax return. So it's just some things that we're just not sure of, that let's say you have a deposit and we don't know of that deposit, but it shows up when the underwriter reviews your account, and they may have to document where that deposit came from. So there are other just kind of detail. They get into the details and the nitty gritty that we particularly may not necessarily have to or may not be aware that we need to. Okay. And that's typically what the case is. Usually, and it's not necessarily that the information is not disclosed, it's just that it's not thought upon from probably either side to kind of know those T's or cross those T's, because we have that pre-approval.
Gotcha. So question number 4, so now in this market right now, it's so competitive, right? So especially for buyers trying to get their offers approved. So a lot of the brokers are saying, well, go through and get your files underwritten ahead of time so you can close faster. Like, get your files before you're under contract, go ahead and put the client through underwriting. So if anything does come up, you can deal with it ahead of time. And I know all lenders don't do that. So you can say what you guys do at Homestar, do you underwrite files? But why would some lenders go ahead and underwrite someone, and then some lenders say, no, we'll wait till you're under contract?
Well, really, it's just a matter of courtesy. I mean, to be truthful of the matter, we all, as a lender, we know that even if your file is underwritten, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to make it to the closing table. And therefore, we have put forth a lot of time and energy from a different level of people to underwrite a file, and then it may not close, and be of reasons that have nothing to do with the loan itself. Maybe they decided the inspection report just didn't go well and they didn't want to proceed with the purchase. Maybe they could not come to terms through an agreement with the seller. There are other reasons, and then at that point, we now have a file that has gone through underwriting and doesn't make it to the closing table, and we have put a lot of effort and energy from a few different people on that one file, and it's almost a waste of time and energy.
Right. And I do understand that, and that was my understanding of it as well, where some lenders are like, no, wait till they're under contract, because if the file doesn't close, y'all wasted time and energy, like you said, putting them through underwriting, then they terminate the agreement, or they don't find a house, or they change their mind about buying. Yeah, that's
Now, there are also other things that come up. Let's just say, for instance, it just takes a little bit more time for you to find that home, and your approval expires. You'll have to go through that process again. So, you know, there are different causes and different reasons, and usually when you're working with your lender and your lender is working with your realtor, we can kind of make that call together.
Okay, to see if you want to go ahead and put them through underwriting ahead of time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely, to kind of see whatever it is that we need to do if we want to send that file through underwriting.
All right, our next question is, and I think I try to keep track of them, but I number them differently. So 1, 2, 3, 4, I think it's number 4. Do underwriters pull your credit again? So in the pre-approval process, they pulled your credit so they can pre-approve you, but do the underwriters go ahead and pull it again?
It really depends. Sometimes it may be necessary. Maybe you have an expired report. So it really just kind of depends on your timing with your home search and when they last pulled and had a review of your credit. Do understand that the underwriter does and is aware that your credit reporting will change from month to month. You know, we may have had no debt to begin with from your credit cards, and you were excited and you purchased all the things for your home, and now you have a lot of debt. But you had not closed yet, and it's time to make sure that like the things that we put on our application is correct, and that's what the underwriter does. So when she does her review, because your report is past 30 days, we have to pull a new report and it shows your new debt. So that's why, yeah, it does happen, and that's why it could happen.
Okay, good to know. Now, maybe in percentage or something like that, I'm not even gonna number these questions. Because some of the time you're answering some of them, so I'm taking them away. What percentage, or you could just estimate, of loans that get approved, go through underwriting, and then the loan gets denied? Do you have like a percentage you think that where they're approved and then it goes to underwriting and they're like, no, we can't close this loan?
You know, it's funny that you say that you ask that, because I think it's variant. That percentage varies depending on your mortgage loan officer, you know, your loan officer. Typically, that's when the loan officer comes into play. From my experience here with the Xander team, what I found is that typically if we go into any roadblocks, your loan officer has to know the guidelines. They have to know and be able to go and read the fine print to see if there's an exception that can be made in your circumstance by maybe a loophole. Maybe there's something that you have provided that can satisfy what the underwriter is asking for, but that's just what you provided is not what the underwriter is used to seeing. So that percentage is going to vary based upon your loan officer's knowledge. But what I can say from my experience is that typically we have very few loans that stop in the underwriting process or that's kicked out. We may very well have to extend a closing date before we stop and have to kind of push out a loan altogether. It happens, unfortunately, but I would say it's a very small percentage due to the fact that we typically know the guidelines and kind of can either battle and provide something different that can satisfy the underwriter's needs, or we'll figure it out, or either, you know, that small amount that kind of gets away from us. But I say that probably happens maybe about 1 out of 10, really, and that's just to not toot. I would say it's probably a little less than that, right, quite frankly.
Right. Because you really try to, you know, on the front end, avoid that and try to make sure that you're asking those right questions at the beginning.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Right, so, and when you know, and that's the whole point of just knowing when to go into underwriting, and that's, you know, sometimes it's a matter of it's just not ready to move forward because we need to get some other documentation together before we do that. So.
Okay. So when they say, because I have quite a few files right now, and like 5 of them are in underwriting, right? So when they say they're in underwriting or in line for underwriting, do the underwriters just take things in the order they're received, or do they say, well, this one closes next week, I need you to rush this one, or this one closes sooner? Like, is there a first come, first serve, or is it in like priority order based on the closing date?
Well, it's not the underwriter's responsibility to accept a file or to receive a file within a certain time frame due to an expected closing date. That is not the underwriter's responsibility. So the underwriter is going to accept the file in the order in which it's in queue to be received. That is a different responsibility, and that's kind of your processor, and that's kind of before you get to the underwriter. So, you know, that's part of that teamwork that you have that would be set up with your loan officer. But that's not their responsibility. So sometimes you can put a rush on an underwriter to review a file because a closing date is coming up and it's not in your favor to have that rush. You just have to know, your files, what you're working with, and your team that you have set up to be able to kind of get those files together before you get to the underwriter. And that's the whole point of the matter. Typically, the underwriter can be looked at as someone who will discover a reason for you not to have a loan. Okay. So we are the ones who actually put in all the information for you to have the loan. And they just look at it and they say, hey, you're right. Everything is here and this person is good to go. We can definitely feel safe that we can move forward with them. So that pretty much is kind of like they're the TSA, so to speak, of the mortgage world.
Make sure you can get on the plane. Like they making sure you have everything you need. That's a good analogy for it, I guess. Yeah, to make sure that you pat down and you can buy that house, right?
That's right.
You mentioned a new person, a processor. So could you explain the difference between like the process between the lender, the processor, and the underwriter? Like what role does the processor play?
The processor is who I would say is that middleman. That's the person who actually can speak to the underwriter. We, as the lender, as the loan officer, we do not, so to speak. It's the processor is who's the person we give all the information that you've given to us, all of your loan docs, your income information, your tax returns, your pay stubs. Your divorce decree, your child support payments, that is the processor's job, is to collect all the information that we need to support the documentation to give to the underwriter as to say why we do deserve to give you this loan and why you should be financed, basically. And so that's the processor's job. So typically the processor is the one who says, you know what, the underwriter has come back with these conditions. Can you provide this? Oh, you can't get that? Then can you provide this instead? And that will still suffice. So that's the processor, is that middleman, but they work with us. So we work directly with the processor. So once we find out, hey, what did the underwriter say? Well, what about this? Will this work? Tell this underwriter that we have this, that we have one documentation instead of what they're asking for. Ask them if that would work. So that's who would kind of be that middleman to kind of go back to the underwriter and say, look, we have this. So, to support our case.
That's really good to know. I just thought of another question. Is there a legal reason that the lender does not communicate with the underwriter?
Well, not necessarily. There's more of a compliant, reason. You just want to make sure that you don't have the underwriter swayed for any reason to say that this, oh, they don't have this information, but because I like this person, I'll go ahead and just approve their loan.
Right.
So that's why it's kind of done without us really knowing who the underwriter is.
Right. So really it's an unbiased opinion. So you're not like, oh,
exactly.
This person has 2 children. They've been working so hard. Just
totally.
push them through. It's really an unbiased look at the documents.
Absolutely.
Okay. And can we, before I ask, my last question is your number one tip for first-time homebuyers in underwriting, but I just thought about this. Is there anything, like any thing that you would like to say? I wanted to tell you, there's two things I think about with underwriting that's come recently. The underwriter wanted, they had the employment information, but they wanted the processor to get on the phone with HR, and HR didn't allow the buyer's employer. HR didn't allow to give, you know, outside information, so they had to get on a three-way call. So the underwriter required for them to get on three-way: the buyer, the processor, and the HR representative from their employer to verify their job history. So that was something that came out of underwriting, right? So I guess they were trying to make sure, you know, her job history was correct. I had another one that was, they called the job to make sure they still work there, and they had recently lost their job, but they didn't, you know, update the lender, and that was a problem because they called, they were like, does, you know, blah, blah, blah still work there? And they're like, no, he hasn't worked here in over a month. So like, it's really important that you update your lender. Your lender is working for you. They want you to get that loan. Don't think you'll just be able to push these things through and nobody's gonna.
Absolutely not. Especially not in this temperament, this climate. I mean, we're in the COVID world right now, and lenders are kind of as anxious as they are to get loans approved and to get loans circulating and out there. They're nervous. They're afraid. They want to make sure that you'll actually be able to make your payments 3 months down the road, that you're not going to be affected by what's going on, or that you haven't already. They know that, you know, that they have people who unfortunately have put on their documentation that I work and they're no longer working. And so as your underwriter is fully aware. So again, this goes to kind of just being informed and knowing that when you're getting your loans, you do have to be honest. You do have to have your, whatever it is that information that you are supplying, that you can back it up basically with your paperwork. Know that the underwriter guidelines is almost like their Bible. I mean, they're going to it, and for each individual underwriter, they have their own interpretation. Just as, you know, the same for any other word. So it's like you leave the understanding up to each individual underwriter. So you'll have different things that could be required and requested. You'll have different things that may work for one underwriter that may not work for another. So, you know, and that is the reason why we never really know if what we've given will suffice, and it's the last call there. But it does come back to us, and it does come back to your loan officer of being able to kind of set forth creativity and pretty much allowing files to be clean. I mean, sometimes that too is helpful, knowing who is starting your loan process and that they actually produce pretty clean loans, meaning that they already have a lot of information inside of the file, so that typically the underwriters would know, wow, this must have been an oversight, or, you know, hey, so let's give them time with this. Hey, well, let me tell them what they can do instead of just one piece of paper that I'm giving, versus someone who has a file that's always, we never put anything in the file until the underwriter asks for it. And now they're having to basically discover everything within your file for you. So there's so many different temperaments when it comes to underwriting, and so many different elements as to why you can get different conditions back, that ultimately you want to just make sure that the setup and the start of your file is as clean as possible, and that helps your underwriting experience be a lot smoother and a lot less stressful.
Okay, and just tell them what conditions are again. So conditions are things that the underwriter needs to approve your loan, right? So additional things.
Exactly.
Okay.
Absolutely. So conditions are pretty much what they say is your loan would be approved provided you can provide these documents. So you have an approval that is based under the condition you can provide these documents. So therefore, we just call those conditions.
Okay.
So at that point, you would, we just say, hey, the underwriter, the processor will be in touch with you to give you your condition. So the processor will contact you and let you know all of the items that the underwriter is asking for. And if you can provide these documents and this information, then at that point, we can yield an approval once they review it.
Okay,
So
good.
that's what condition.
I'm going to give my advice, and I want you to give your #1 tip for first-time homebuyers in the underwriting process. This has been excellent information. Thank you so much. But I do want to say, don't let it frustrate. I think the most frustrating process, I think, in the loan thing is the underwriting. Why are they asking for this? I already gave them this. I already gave them this copy. And what I try to tell my buyers is just give it to them. You know, if you want to get through the process, instead of complaining about what they're asking for, just get ready. You know they're going to ask you. They may ask you for it again. They may ask for an update.
Oh.
They're going to ask, I say don't put any, payments that you can't, you don't want just people putting money into your account during this time either. Because any money that you put in your account, you might want to speak on that too, has to be verified. Because if the down payment is supposed to be coming from you, or the closing costs are supposed to be coming from you, and then you have people just dropping, $10,000 in your account 3 days before you close or 5 days before you close, then that's like a red flag to an underwriter. They're gonna be like, where'd this money come from?
Yes.
So you have to verify those deposits. So just make sure, like you said, you're not doing anything new financially. It has to come from the documentation, the income that you said you have. And then don't get frustrated with the underwriter or the processor asking you for things over again. Just go ahead and give it to them. They wouldn't ask for anything they didn't need. So just go ahead and give it to them. That's my advice. So you can speak on any large deposits, anything they shouldn't do, anything, stories that you might want to tell, whatever. So what's your #1 advice for first-time home buyers?
Okay, so my first advice would be to kind of start you from the top of the beginning process, and that is be truthful to your loan officer. It starts there, because if you are truthful and you don't have the funds, then you will not be in underwriting and then not close. If you are truthful and you are using your credit card, then you don't have to be aggravated at the fact that you can't close in 30 days and your closing has been pushed out. So you have to learn that honesty is important. And it doesn't mean that if you say, hey, you guys, I have $30,000 saved up, that the lender is going to say, oh, your closing costs are $30,000. So you just be honest and be truthful. And that actually starts the process, and it just creates a relationship that makes the loan officer want to work with you, and want to see what they can do to get you in that home. So that's the first thing. The second thing is know that whatever, you have to listen to your loan officer. I mean, I respect and love the fact that a lot of first-time homeowners like to do their own research. It's awesome. I think that's what we're taught to do when something is new for us. However, that does not then make you an expert at first-time home ownership because you've read 5 websites. So listen to your loan officer. They probably know a little bit more than you do at this point. So kind of follow their instruction. And when you follow their instruction, then again, you don't have those things like large deposits going into your account. You don't have those accidents made where you've charged up your credit card for your first floor furniture to be set out for you when you move in. You will not do those things. So listen and pay attention. And then finally, make sure that, like, I think you hit the nail on the head. Provide the documentation that they're asking for. Let me tell you, I'm in underwriting right now. And of course, I thought I assured my agent, oh, this is a clean file. It's already in. Everything's there. There's nothing they'll need. What else could they possibly need? And even I find myself having to kind of jump online and grabbing documents and ordering transcripts and things. And of course, again, I want to make sure that I close within a matter of days, right? That's how it goes for all of us. So you feel a little bit of stress because it's asked and you want to make sure it happens, and you have everyday life going on. You still have to run during your lunch hour and go get documents signed, and you still have to make sure that you get back to work and finish those reports, leaving time enough to get the kids to practice on time, and then back from practicing time enough so dinner is not eaten late, and then at the same time, this underwriter wants more information. You know, how dare? I get it. We get it. But when you are just, you know, when you provide it and you have that fast turnaround, especially with everything being online, you know, just stop for a moment, stop with the stress and think things through. I think I found myself kind of going to the bank the other day for a printout, and Jay had to stop me. He's like, "What are you doing? Pull it up." I stopped and I laughed and I was like, yeah, everything you can do. So, you know, don't make it stressful for yourself. Remember the shortcuts that are already here, like websites. Online documents can be, you know, documents can be retrieved online. They can be signed through DocuSign. So just remember those things. You know, there are things that are in place to make it simpler and to make it a little bit easier, but you still, I mean, what they say, you have to work hard for what you want. So, I mean, you're still going to have to jump through a couple of hoops to get to that last landing. And that's ultimately the goal. So if you do it, you'll get there.
All right, thank you so much. Keisha, tell them how we should reach you, and I'll have it in the description as well, all of her contact information. So if they want to get a loan through Homestar Financial, the Xander team, they want to work with you, how should they reach you? What's the best place?
You guys, if you want to take advantage of just having an easy process of getting into your home and just less hoops to jump through and a helping hand and some fun and excitement and some smiles with me and Jay, then give us a call. We're here. We have a team that takes calls, so you can reach us at 678-552-1513. That's 678-552-1513. Even when we're not here, it comes over to our cell phones. You can even text us at that number if you can't put in a call. So we've made it easy for you guys to reach out to us. So reach out by phone, text us. You can email me as well. I'm sure Shaheedah will have the information down below. So email me. It's keisha.gaskin@homestarfc.com. It's spelled a little differently, so we'll have it listed.
Yeah, right. Wow.
But give me a call, guys, and I'd love to work with you all.
Okay, let me ask you one more question. Because you know this is like nationwide little YouTube channel. Where do y'all? What states do y'all serve? Is it just Georgia or other states?
We are, it's better remembered when I think about the states that we don't, because usually those are the ones that aren't looking to move anyway.
Gotcha.
So we are in, we're pretty much nationwide as well. But here in our office, we can get you in most of at least Midwest and Southeast states, and some on, I know, on the west side as well. So I would say specifically for those details, give us a call. And what we don't have or what we can't do, we have someone in our team environment that probably can get you done anywhere you are.
Thank you so much. So you should know everything you need to know about underwriting, and don't let the process frustrate you. Just get through it. It's a means to an end. You have to go through the underwriter to get your loan approved.
That's right.
Thank you so much, Keisha. It's been great. Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Shaheedah. Bye.
Bye-bye.